Jennifer. Okay.
Yeah, so as I was saying, everything that the Ministry of Education teaches on in terms of academic subjects, math, science, and all that, right? Those have like your timetable time. Then they decide, okay, every week we're gonna have 1 to 2 hours of this other thing. So I can comment on like that proportion and distribution of time, but I shall not. Regardless, that is this citizenship and character education, which they term as CCE lah. And I think usually these conferences about education is held by the Ministry of Education themselves. So if you are aware of like power dynamics and all that, right? That means that they influence pretty much all of how education works lah. As citizens and ground-up organizations where we want to contribute to society with our own voice, by being able to run our own conference, that becomes something interesting, right? So this is just a preemptor lah. A little bit about myself, picture never load. My name is Louis and I've been in this space of education innovation for past few years lah. I really believe that there's so much that we have all been through in education and we are thinking like, hey, this thing could have been different. This is something that I believe young people should be learning more of. So these are some of the things that I believe in, but very often we don't have a space to kind of give that feedback or give that contribution. And what it often comes about is complaints to the ministry or parent complaints. And there's a lot of telling, but not a lot of contributing. So I'm trying to create this space, right, where we can all enter a classroom and be able to influence what happens in education on a daily basis. So if you see my virtual background, it's actually within one of the schools in Singapore. We currently have 2 spaces in Singapore schools lah. And what happens there is that social enterprises, organizations, and even you yourselves, if you feel like you need an office, you can come by and spend time in our space. Some of the members in AGS, for example, Dean, right? She actually spent some time with us in one of the schools, and we basically work out of there on a daily basis. We've invited people like Douglas in to run workshops for parents and so on. But because of our day-to-day presence in the school, right, we can actually do a lot of like licensing and change-making work now. Okay, and when we work with educators, if any of you have worked with educators before, right, I imagine you will go through these few things. And I did a little basic SWOT analysis for all of us who do any form of education. And I think some of the strengths that we have is we are domain experts in whatever causes that we are working on. Whenever like MOE has some mental health case and stuff like that, right? Any of you who are in the mental health change-making space, right? You have a lot to say and you have a lot of expertise and analysis on the issue. But then when we come down to the ground and we see what mental health education is like, right? We often feel it is superficial and it's not like in-depth enough. It doesn't go into enough details. And in a classroom setting, as the educators try to run these things, they struggle because they're only at a surface level understanding as compared to us, where we're experts in this field. But some of the weakness then is that as we talk about our different causes and the different things that we care about, we tend to be a bit less willing to work outside of our area of impact because we want focus. So those are some of the strengths and weaknesses that I see lah. And there are some opportunities that being in a community like AGS brings because we can now bring together our expertise. Sure, I'm not interested in all these other social cause issues. Like personally, I like environment, but I'm not going to work in it. But why not I work with someone who is an expert in that field, and we offer like this range and suite of skill sets. So that's an opportunity that is presented to an organization or collective like us. Some of the threats though is that some schools are not very discerning. So a big part of who they work with are these education vendors. Without naming names, they basically run everything from leadership training to mental health training to environmental causes to skill sets and career guidance. And basically they are inventing lesson plans out of their heads, right? And then running it for students. And they don't particularly care deeply about each of these topics that they're teaching, which is a bit of a wasted opportunity. And the trouble and the threat is that schools don't know better. MOE educators don't know any better because they are not experts. So because of that, the chance for us to be able to change in the education space is tough. And what I'm trying to create here is a space for us to do that. Because of our work in the school, right, we can actually get access and we can become privy, right, to all of the materials that they start using. We can now take a glimpse as to what MOE schools and what MOE has prepared as curriculum. And we can see how deep or superficial they are and where we can value add, where the gaps are. So a lot of times we just imagine what school is like, right? We haven't been back in so long. But now being able to see their lesson plans, we can kind of really see clear areas where we can work on. I look at this kind of curriculum and table of contents, and I'm like, it's nice lah, but it can be a lot deeper than that. Okay, and when we work with schools, right, actually there are a lot of operational challenges if you've ever worked with schools. I know Vincent has. So one of the big challenges is that the project specifications they have are often very simplistic and they don't involve a lot of impact. And so as a result, the budget is also very low. And because of that, we can't run the expertise work that we have. The other thing is that the teachers that we liaise with, they tend to be messengers lah. They are passing down and executing plans that their HODs and their principals want. And when we kind of propose something else, they're like, no, this is not what my principal wants. This is not what my HOD wants. And as a result, there's no change making that can happen. We are just offering a service that they want. And people don't ask for change in that particular respect. And the other thing is that they often see any engagements as short-term. How can I do this one workshop and check my checklist that I have cleared mental health for the year? I have cleared sexual education for the year. So this is kind of the mentality. And working with schools is not very easy because we're often seen as vendors, as service providers, rather than experts, consultants, and change makers. So it's very hard for us change makers to make that impact, right? If we are only seen as vendors, we are seen as consultants, then we have a bit of a chance. So the opportunity here that I'm presenting is really for us to come together and organize a national CCE conference, and it's kind of organized and hosted by us. And we can kind of put our perspectives on how young people can be educated better. I intentionally didn't put too much plans into place because I do want to pull us in to collaborate on this together. And I think AGS has always been looking for spaces and opportunities for members to work together and collaborate on projects. So this is one of the chances lah. And I think the next point is that when we work with schools, one of the concerns is, can we get business from them? Can we earn some money from them to sustain the work that we want to do? And by doing this conference, right, it becomes a like one-stop like lead generation for school-based work now. So if any of us wants to work with schools, running this puts us in a position where schools will come and look for us instead after our conference. And by doing and packaging our values together, right, we have some collective value creation. Just so you know, in Singapore, there's about 150 schools in secondary school level. So I'm also looking at this at the secondary school level primarily. If we get one teacher from every school, that's about 150 lah. But these are targets and goals that we can set together. For the partners wise, we do have organizations like you here. I think maybe 10 or so will be pretty sufficient already and pretty good. But we'll see how many people are interested also. Some of the benefits, I think, is that by putting it in a conference setting, right, we're automatically lending some credibility to it. By arranging the guests and speakers that we are looking for, it puts us in a position where we can be experts, we can be consultants, as compared to just vendors offering a service. And I'm also hoping that as we work together on this project, we start to form some ideas and collaborations with each other so that our programs and our offerings are not isolated and singular. And as we go there, the teachers who attend are more likely to seek our help when they need to run some programs. This is a sample of what it could look like. So some opening address in the morning, and strategically, I would want to think that we'll get an MOE representative just to lend some credence to the rest of the flow. And different members within our space, right, can be championing different topics and different issues. So if you just take a quick look there, maybe I'll talk about career guidance because it's something I'm used to. Ibnur, who's not here today, can talk about innovation and invention. Adrian, who runs SG Assist, can talk about service learning. Sherman can talk about mental health, and so on. So this is just a sample. There could also, depending on how many partners and of you guys are interested, we could even have a second track where there are parallel activities happening. I'm also imagining this mostly to be on Zoom. Oh, this is very unfortunate. This picture needs to look. Give me a second. Okay. Tech problems. Yes, this is a picture. So this is an example of a vision of what it looks like lah. So we have a Zoom session and probably online lah. I mean, I wanted to do it offline, but there are next time. So for now, we're thinking about online, and we have sessions with teachers like that, right? And we start probing questions. So like mental health, for example, we could probe a question like, how about teachers' mental health? How are you feeling? And then follow-up facilitation questions. How do you role model taking care of mental health to your students? So then these questions start to probe and get the thinking going, right? And we can start to bring our value into the room.
Sorry, Louis, I'll just check with you how many more slides you have before we can give you Q&A sessions.
3 more.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
5 more minutes.
Sure. So on a pragmatic side of things, what it looks like at the end of the day on a business front, right, is a single organization, for example, Happiness Initiative, might have 30 school HODs coming down and attending their thing. And then that becomes leads that they can engage to run programs with them. At the next level of collaboration, we could have package sales. So we could have like me and Sherman could do something together and we offer some discount for that package. On top of that, if we go a deeper level of collaboration, and the closest would be like Poly Forum that we did last year in AGS, where different of us could come together to offer a suite, a singular program where we come in at different parts. Then my request really is to find organizing team members amongst you guys who are intrigued and interested in this. Please look for me and we'll work together to make this happen. And for the other folks here to support us when it does, when we do have more materials out, publicize and share the materials to your teacher friends and ask them to come and join us for this event. And also on the day, maybe some manpower and tech support. A rough glimpse as to what that timeline looks like, right? February, which is just a few days later, is where a lot of the planning happens, right? Where we have some roles and responsibilities, we confirm the dates. I'm pretty sure the date has to happen in June because my understanding of teachers' timetables is as such. Figure out how we're going to finance this, we're going to have some basic financing cost, maybe grants, and invite other strategic partners, and you can see the rest lah. So March, we do a bit more work. April, we start campaigning. May, a campaign again, dry run. June, we run the thing, and then July, we follow up with the leads that we gathered from the particular event. So that's it for me. If you want, you can contact me. I think I'll leave the contact details in the chat also. But that's it. So anyone has any questions?
Thank you, Louis. So everybody, we have like 5 minutes to ask Louis questions on what he has just shown on the showcase. So anybody would like to start the ball rolling?
Let me start the ball rolling then. I was actually typing my comments. Okay, just so that we warm up because I have to run in a bit. Louis, I just want to say what a powerful idea and very well thought out. I think from a strategic perspective, I really am very pleased to see how you have thought about this, from sort of bring AGS change makers together. There is a real need, and just to give everyone a bit of a sense, actually, there was an intention to organize such a conference for parents by a few change makers. So yeah, I just want to say that this is a very powerful idea, and I like how you've thought of what are the benefits and the spillover effects for all of us, but also for society at large. So happy to support, give access, and also look at what resources are needed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think Song Han has a question.
Thanks, Louis, for sharing. What is the learning objective of the conference for the teachers?
So when the big challenge, I'm not going to talk about learning objectives actually. When we bring the teachers in, right, it is trying to simplify their life. When they think about CCE and all these non-curricular stuff, they don't know who to look for and they don't know who to engage. So the objective is come to this thing and you will see the range of different vendors and organizations that you can pull in. So we're going to hook them in and basically say, this is a vendors convention. You come here and find all the vendors. But as they come and attend these things, right, they are listening to what the vendors are saying. They are listening to the insights that we have gathered through the past years. And as a result, their initial goal is to just find a vendor list to go and invite quotation. But as they come in and listen, they start to change their sense of what the value proposition is. So the learning objective is, I think practically it's as what you want, like depending on what you want to share about during the conference. But my hook really is to help them check off their checklist.
Thanks for sharing.
Hi, Louis. Vincent here.
Yep.
You
Hi.
might also want to hit up Engineering Good. So they're also going to schools to do something different, non-curriculum, non-academic, sorry. And I think they've been quite successful in hitting up the polys and universities. So they've been running a few of the showcase like the Tech for Good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I was in touch with them and it didn't cross my mind, but this is a very good suggestion because they also want to scale up their Tech for Good festival.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Vincent.
Last questions before I close this Q&A, and you can connect with Luis. Counting 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Luis.